But then what I will have to say is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because I have to announce it like a crazy lady, welcome to this latest installment of Poetic License. Ta-da-ta-da. Back in the day when I would actually have signs for when this was at a bookstore in Austin, but I'm glad that it's now global. Even if it's us little chickadees together, it's triple plus awesome that we're all together for it. It's very good to see you all. It is. It always is. It's always, and that's a nice thing about this open mic, because and versus it just being in the bookstore, because you get a few people from Austin that can come to the bookstore at the same time, versus we've got people from different parts of the country all together, and there's nobody from Austin or Chicago at this moment, which usually there's a couple that will slide in. I'm surprised that Tom isn't here, although he might be coming late because he's bouncing between so many open mics. It's crazy. But well, that's just how he rolls. But in my first installment of readings, I was going to read from the most recent issue of cc&d magazine, which was published 4 days ago. Count them 4. And this is a book that is titled A Future That Includes You. And as I said, they're named from people within it. And this is actually a combination of NASA imagery and clip art from Pixabay, I believe, because there are people, and there's 2 little people in there. It's like a future that includes you, and that's what it is for the cover. And that's why I thought another Pixabay image on the back cover of a lone person on the stairs. What happens if there's nobody around? And so that's what it is for the cover for this guy. And I thought I would pick a poem that you wouldn't expect to hear from me. And a part of me wanted, because a lot of my stuff, yeah, I do have a couple of strange pieces in here, but ones that I've already read to you guys before, so I cannot read them. But I do have one performance art piece toward the end, and Lorna was always like, I need to know this for the shows. You will see the pictures afterward, because I put them on a screen as well. There was one in Austin where it was performing to music. And then I did one show at In One Ear, which is in North Chicago, which I believe I gave you info about, Lorna. But, and I wore silver, and I had lots of pictures of me doing things and being my crazy caricature self and showing my hands everywhere. But this is a poem that I've not shared with you guys, and it is called Yearning to Break Free. And I told you, you couldn't see those images really well if you have it in color. They had a whole band, and it was set up for, this was a one-time show set up for someone who had passed away. And they had a whole band there, as you can see the upright. And it was the cool, and I'm just going to do things and improv stuff and see how it goes with you. By the way, Laura, I didn't tell you about this, but on Sunday nights, the Green Mill, which is where they choose their poets for the National Poetry Slam in Chicago, happens every Sunday night. But the Green Mill, yes. It's a place on the, I can't believe I'm doing this in the middle of a reading, but it's on the north side of Chicago that used to be a hub during Prohibition days. If you ask them, if you go behind the bar and you ask, or go to the bar and ask them, they will lift up a panel and show you an entranceway into an underground tunnel of where people would come in and bring in liquor during Prohibition times, which I think is the funniest thing. And it's funnier because my grandfather apparently was carrying multiple casks of liquor for Al Capone. So there you go, weird little bits. And then it's like, Grandpa, get out of this. You have a family. You have to stop doing this. So anyway, but it's an open mic thing that's there. I think they have a cover to go in, but they have an upright band that can be accompanying readers. And that's why I brought that up, because this happened at the show that I did this one piece at. And the piece I was going to share with you is called, I'm sorry for this long intro, you guys, Yearning to Break Free. I asked a guitarist once why he's always breaking into song. He told me that he had to fill his head with music, or else a billion ideas would overflow his brain, and he couldn't be able to focus on anything. I thought about this, and I wondered if this is the plight of the creative, that we're bombarded with all these ideas. They attack us, they assault us, they bombard us, they infect our brains. And then every once in a while, we let one crystallize. We give our scattered minutiae a form, and you call it a work of art. But you don't understand. If I let it all out, my brain would explode. I suppose these are the trials of the creative, with all these ideas scratching at our brains, yearning to break free. And us creative types, we're left to pick and choose from what deep within us is worth sharing with the rest of the world. You call it art, I call it what keeps me sane. Yearning to Break Free was that poem, and I was seeing the collabs, you guys, and there were a lot of show images. Yeah, they're scratching my brain. I can already see I was doing probably the same things that I was doing for these readings, but you get a lot, like, I don't know how to be able to deal with these things, but yeah, more scratching at the brain. Oh, my brain would explode. I can already see it. My brain would explode. But yeah, so yeah, I happen to have a lot of photos for this one. That's why I decided to get all dressed up in silver for the show for you guys. But anyway, that was the one poem I wanted to share with you. And then I'm going to do it in this round, but not in the next full round. But I was going to share with you periodic table poems because I would pick another element for you guys. And it's number 42 in the periodic table. Because I love that. I mean, I wrote these things in the past, and I love that somebody is now sending me stories about these elements, and I put these poems afterward. And I thought it was just being obnoxious by putting this stuff in, and they're like, no, this is the coolest thing. I learn other things about the elements. And so anyway, this next one, which is, you know, number 42, The Meaning of Life, for people who watched Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I think that was the movie. It's not only in a fuchsia that includes you, but it's also in the periodic table of poetry. I'm trying to show it. You guys see it here. I don't know about the live feed. I have to show it off for everybody. I've got a vertical screen on that guy. Hello. But this poem is in both of those books, and it is called Molybdenum. This one was so fun to perform because I was banging on a drum and screaming. So let's see if I can do it that way. Molybdenum. I love this country. We should protect our rights. Gotta love our military industrial complex. We gotta protect ourselves. I'll use everything I can to be the one on top. I know I've used you, but it was wartime. You gotta understand. You gave me speed. You were light in your feet, but stiff as a board. When things got hot, you stood up to anything. And I like flexing my muscles with you. I knew it was wartime, but I would have made a Japanese sword out of you if I could put you together right. And I know, you say I need you for all my amino acids to keep my innards running, but I'm still on this war kick here, because when it's wartime, that's when I need you most. People say that war's no good, but I say, you're the meaning of life. I love the U.S. of A. And with you by my side, we can shove a boot up their ass. It's the American way. That's so embarrassing to do that way. That was molybdenum. I know, I'm going to show you a goofy jump image for it. I don't know, I've got all these things coming up. But, oh yeah, I told you, I did this at a Joe Rorty show. It was in 2013 when I was doing all of these things. I had a stick that I was banging on, and you could tell I'm like pointing like, hey, I love this here country, as I'm being this crazy performer. And then of course you can see I'm banging on the drum because, you know, gotta call up your support any way you can, I suppose. But that was molybdenum. Oh, I forgot, and may he rest in peace. I also read that poem at Tag Team Poets. I think a number of months ago I might have shared poetry about a poet friend of mine who had assisted suicide because of the pain he was going through. And we would meet up, and he gave me a wrestling belt because we were tag team poets. And he used to be a wrestler, and so he had an open mic thing, and I did a reading there for him as well. It's heartbreaking just because I know him and all that stuff. But I also read it at a book fair. It's Half Price Books. Tom isn't here. He ran this thing in Austin on the beginning of every month, and we had so many things for books that I was like, all right, I will do something about when I'm doing a reading and I'm running out of books to be able to show off like I usually do. I can only show off my smartphone, showing off a phone for the reading, but this is how I can also fill space, because we got a lot of poets who do a lot of reading in this space. This last one is another molybdenum one, but it's a Twitter length one that appears not only in a feature that includes you, but also in, yeah, you guys know it, Twitterverse periodic table poetry. I have to show them all off, so I just have to. And half of the ones that are in this book come with images, but I don't think molybdenum did, so you're not going to get an image for that, but you may have something from a poetry reading. Who the heck knows? This one is a short one called Molybdenum's War Inside. When they come and attack us out of the blue, that is when I need your strength to help me through. They say war's no good, but you help me prevail. But I also need you coursing through me too. Our love/war relationship we have is the only way we function. We can't help it. It's crazy to think of things that you can do for things that are bad and good. I am going to read another thing that happened from the Poetry Bomb on this year, but I have to do it every time just to give props to Circle Brewing, which is where this one reading happened to be. And I might say later on, I'm like, oh, this was at that, but I'm not going to show the photos again, but pictures from when I was doing a read outside the brewery. Because Poetry Bomb, for you guys who would know, it started in Chicago by Buddha 309, who's still there in Chicago, but the premise is to go, I think it's the last Sunday of April. 3:30 in the afternoon Central Standard Time. You pick a place to go where nobody just goes to read poetry, and you just read and see what happens. So I would pick different places, and since I've been here, I went to the Alamo, I went to, I won't talk about that, but it's a fun exercise in finding different places to read poetry where you normally wouldn't hear it. So I hope you appreciated, or at least tolerated, the molybdenum or periodic table poems, you guys, because I think I'm going to pass it on over to our Zoom host.